If you watch until the end of this video, you're going to learn how some of the fastest growing agencies are using AI to build and work with clients. Whether you currently run an agency or you want to start your own agency using AI, this video has tons of golden nuggets that are going to give you a massive head start over everyone else. Thank you to Supabase for partnering with No Code MBA on this webinar. Supabase is currently running a limited time promotion for agencies to get $300 in Supabase credits. Click the link in the description to claim your $300 if you are an agency. I'm really excited to be here with 3 agencies that are building with AI tools, and we're going to cover a lot of real world advice and tactics in this webinar. You're going to come away with insights on tactical advice, pricing, speed, tools, client acquisition, and how Supabase fits in with all of this, especially as agency founders and growing an agency. So I'm going to quickly introduce everyone. We're here with Omar, who is the founder and managing director from We Get Design, Harry, the founder and CEO of Imaginary Space, and Shahed, the co-founder and CEO of SJ Innovation. So we've got a lot to cover. I'm going to jump right in a second with the first question, but something just keep in mind as you're watching, feel free to drop questions. There's a questions button on the top of the webinar. So go ahead and drop questions in there as they come to you, and we're going to get to them at the end of the session. So let's start with Harry. So you started with Lovable prototypes. I'm curious, how did you evolve to using Claude and Cursor for production grade client projects away from only using Lovable from how you started?
Yeah, it's a really good question because Lovable came before Cursor. So it was by choice at the beginning to use it as a tool to build solutions for clients. But then I think one of the things that we found as like software engineers is that you still really need to get into the code at the end of the day and make edits. And sometimes it's faster to do that than waiting for a web app to spin it up. I think like one of the things we're realizing more and more this year is like how a combination of tools is best for a solution to a problem than just trying to pigeonhole and use one religiously itself. So yeah, it was a really natural transition, but I think there's like a lot of benefits of using Cursor these days, like running multi-agents so you can have more than one agent editing code at a time. And then with Composer, then model that they've released, inference speed at the moment is absolutely insane. I don't know if any of you in the audience have tried Composer with Cursor, but it's like and just rapidly fires it out, which is insane to see. And it's exciting. The technology was not there like 3 years ago.
Got it. Got it. So it's more driven by the capabilities of the software as opposed to like requests from clients. Kind of, you're just using the software that's going to give the best result.
Yeah, we're quite lucky where we're not pigeonholed into software like that. And we get to have the choice of what we use to build, just as long as like when we deliver that to a client, they're happy, smiling, and they've got a great result, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. So jumping over to Omar. So this is a little similar with going from maybe you started with Bubble as your agency and now you've expanded to incorporate more enterprise platforms like Supabase and other AI dev tools. So what motivated that and how has that transition been?
Yeah, so 2 years ago, we started exploring Supabase as a kind of standalone system. In terms of, we were funded by Innovate UK for this aspect to build a bridge between Bubble and Supabase. So Bubble is a traditional low-code development toolkit. It's quite established. And for us as an agency, we were trying to look at, how can we, kind of expand upon it. We saw scalability limits, especially around embeddings. So when we were trying to, kind of give a premium value to our clients, it was around, I would say, the familiarity. So we needed to find systems like, for example, in Bubble, you've got a privacy rule, you've got database structure, workflows. Within Supabase itself, it's got pretty much the same thing, row level control, you've got functions, you can put your API keys within that. So we had 2 similar systems. And the advantage that we had was actually AI. So Supabase allowed us to embed, say, with OpenAI's model of 3,000 dimensions, that we can then bolt on top of our clients' apps. So for enterprises, they could start talking to their data whereas previously they couldn't. And it was that speed difference. So, like Harry mentioned, he started off with Lovable and then they went on the Cursor, and they just saw the inference of, the speed of development made a huge difference. So for us, if I would say 2013 to 2017, we were like full stack development. 2017 to about 2024, 2025, we were purely low code development. And now it's kind of gone full cycle, and we're now back to full stack development, and we use all the tools. So, with my favorite personally up until today was Claude and Gemini 2.5. Gemini 3.0, I mean, it just, like today and yesterday I've been using it. The difference is 10 times. So I just expect the underlying technology to change the same, and just kind of just share kind of what we've been doing. So what you kind of, I'm not sure if you can see now. This is an example app that we built. This is our internal training application. It's built on Next.js. I use Gemini 2.5 to deploy it. Supabase is at the back end of this application, and it is quite straightforward. Everyone's obviously seen this before. It quickly allows us to kind of build our tables out and our structure. Very simple app. But if I go back to the application, I'm able to kind of embed AI within that. So the difference being with low-code development, this would have taken me 6 months to develop. With AI-assisted development toolkits and linking back to our original Bubble app, it's taken me 3 or 4 weeks to build. And with Supabase taking care of the security, it was a no-brainer for us. So this is why we've expanded upon Bubble as a tool set. It's very good as a core system, but our clients want quick deployments. They want a reports app. They're going to go meet, a set of investors. They want to pull out that data really quickly. So they give us an instruction that we've got 2 weeks to do. You cannot do that in traditional low code. So that's the main reason. Yeah, that helps.
Got it. Cool. So yeah, it sounds a little bit similar to what Harry was saying, where you're going to use the best tools as these new tools come out. You have to be agile as an agency and use that to keep improving the result and speed. So that's cool to see. Jumping over to Shahed. So also kind of in the same vein of how you're using AI tools, I think something you're doing that might be a little bit different or unique is on the platform or making platforms out of what you're creating with AI tools and Supabase. So I'd love to learn a little bit more about how you're doing that.
So going back, I agree with Harry and Omar. Exactly, our journey is similar. Like the tool set are changing. I mean, the difference is speed. By the time we finish a client meeting, sometime within 5 minutes, we send a Lovable product and client excited, right? And then, of course, our team start building things. Before it was too much conversation. So we create AI framework inside the agency where we have control tower. And again, what Omar showed it, like before, I would not even dare to develop something like that. I think the workflow management inside agency has changed so much right now. Within a lead coming in versus delivering the fast prototype, even Lovable API, which is right away, you can just have a pre-prompt ready and all the template ready, and you can have the prototype ready, what Omar showed us. The biggest difference, I think, reusability. And I think one of the things I have learned, which Omar mentioned also, that why do you want to go ahead and use so many other databases where Supabase had PT vector and everything, the raw level security. And I think the biggest winner is that you can, Edge function, you can have it, all these login and everything. You can use the management API to go ahead and deploy an application within few days. And you don't need to test it. You can make sure that everything is already done. And this reusability is helping us to parallelly develop, like in our Lovable, Supabase, and of course, Cursor and everywhere. Like right now, we used to do 10 projects. Now we are doing 60 projects parallel. And we have control tower to manage everything. Like Supabase API can go there and check what are the edge error happened last night and fix it automatically using, Cursor or other. So, I mean, honestly, this has been an amazing journey. I think there are people like Dharmesh Shah and others from HubSpot is showing. I'm a co-founder. I started back in 1998 on the web development. So I came professional. So many, phases we went through, but this is probably the most excited time I have seen. So, I don't know, this is an amazing time we are having right.
Does the reusability drive recurring revenue versus one-time projects, or is that a drive revenue and differently in any way?
Yeah, it's a mod, right? Like right now, what we are going through, we serve, there are complexity there. It is definitely driving the recurring revenue because a lot of people are in different software, traditional software. Like we work with some mortgage company. They have huge database, but they want to create a dashboard or workflow. So we are creating something for them. Of course, first we are doing it in cloud, Supabase, and then we are hosted behind the firewall, Supabase open source. And that's a big advantage for Supabase. And then, of course, once they see a dashboard, I can go to the Lovable and show them the next phase and third phase and fourth phase, because before it was like they could not imagine what is possible. But because of Lovable and Supabase Cloud, you can go ahead and make phase 2, phase 3, phase 4 for the client. And now they're like, who? Their CEO is coming, hey, let's do that. Of course, the challenge is going to be there, but this is where excitement gets created and recurring revenue is definitely. Because of Supabase, I have to say, because of that, the workflow, we are definitely getting there where recurring revenue is definitely on the card right now for 2026.
Got it. Got it. Harry, are you seeing the same thing with showing working prototypes quickly, and is that helping with the sales cycle?
I think like what we found with some like enterprise clients is they're actually using Lovable to build the prototype first before they talk to us. And then they go, here's my idea and what I've got. And it's going to be like a Frankenstein monster where they've just like thrown a load of stuff together as best they can, right? But it does help them communicate their ideas. And I know from like Lovable's own use cases, for example, like Klarna, huge company, they do a lot of stuff in the finance space. And they've got rid of all Google Docs. And now you have to present a Lovable prototype to get your idea across to the team internally. And I think it's like that, like these tools, because as Shahed said, you can spin up something in an hour and then send it to a client. It's like becoming a new form of like communication in some sense. You can really take your ideas and build something that you can communicate to a team and get across like what you're trying to build. So people are very protective of the stuff they build in Lovable as well. So you have to step around that. That's quite a fun little exercise, especially when they're like, I want it to look exactly like my Lovable prototype. And then you have to say like, there's a lot of other things we need to think about in that case. But it's a similar story for Supabase as well, because you have the AI editor. There's also the MCP server. So it's really easy to write a prompt and get a database schema seeded with a load of data, like spun up really quickly. And I think just speaking to both of these guys on here, the same as me, right? Like, I think we're just finding that we're able to like produce results for people a lot faster and get like working prototypes into their hands. And when you're in a service-based industry and you're working with clients, making sure that you're on the same page and that you both understand what you're building is super important. And doing that as early as you can in the process that you're working with them. So if you have a month contract and you can show them a prototype in the first 2 days and have a really productive conversation about how you're going to shape it for the rest of that month, it's really crucial. And I think it makes it a bit more fun. You don't have to use paper anymore to communicate your ideas. You can actually have like a product.
Right, right. So do those enterprises, do you find that they understand, because they're coming to you with a Lovable prototype, that there is a lot more work to be done to turn it into a production? Or do you find that they say, well, it's so quick for you to build, so how do you justify this premium pricing?
I think
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, like, that's always the best conversation because they don't realize the value in it at all. But I think the main thing that founders realize when they work with us is they build their prototype, but none of the backend works and none of the Supabase stuff works. And for them, it's quite hard to be able to like architect something, which I think is where, like, from a technical perspective, we help in that regard. And it is fun because like you start asking them the simple questions like, all right, have you guys thought about row level security? Is your storage bucket open? Have you like leaked all of your users' emails to the web? Like these simple questions that we ask as developers or do like checks on, but maybe they don't have the experience or like the battle scars to know that they need to do that. So I think that's where we fill the gap. It's the experience and the technical capability. And then they're the ideas person. They're driving the ship at the end of the day. I just try and let them do that and then fill in technically as best I can.
Shahed, do you ask anything?
Yeah. Our experience the other way also, that A lot of our enterprise clients would go ahead and create a prototype, and it gives them, just like ChatGPT, it gives them so much, they get overwhelmed, and they don't realize that it would require so much effort, like to create actual a prototype, right? Especially in the mortgage industry. Like I'm talking about a client who has 5,631 tables on a database. And they are thinking, like when they connect it, they don't realize it that even converting and connecting with Vector TV, how much data you can really save. And that context window and all those things, they're thinking, oh, I'm going to go ahead and like the problem with this tool set also, right? It is giving them a huge new world out there. And even the communication sometimes, they would take your message and give you a reply on ChatGPT, and ChatGPT sometimes can be misleading. So similar with Supabase and Lovable, I think industry is going to evolve. I am also have seen this trend multiple times where WordPress came in like, oh, I can make the website very quickly, but then so realize it's not that easy. Similar way right now, a lot of prototype would be made. All the Excel file will become an application from each department, but they will soon realize that it's not easy just to do it without a developers.
Got it. Omar, are you seeing the same thing with your side, or is it different?
Well, I mean, we deal with obviously like probably the startups to corporations. Our startups tend to become more informed, which is good. They come to us with more information. They come with us with a more tuned out idea. Our corporations, well, we went to a law firm in Bristol recently, and we did a presentation in front of a bunch of lawyers, and we showed them the apps that we've made, and we literally said, guess how long that took us to make. The actual time was like 3 to 4 weeks, but everyone was guessing 2 to 3 days. So the corporations, well, some people, yeah, they expect a production-ready app in 2 or 3 days. So it's kind of changing that mindset in one way. And for enterprises, they are expecting more feature definition, more depth in the quality of features. Like we recently had a client, would have a simple reports app, put in information using AI, but then they wanted things like smart blocks, things with mail merge, things that will generate charts, things that will probably take them 3 to 6 months to develop, but they want it in a couple of weeks. And it's that richness that we're finding on. So it's not, so for our services, we're doing more effectively for the same amount of money, and the expectation is higher. But that said, the stickiness is better, if that makes sense. Once they're impressed quite quickly. They're like, oh, I've never seen us be able to have this kind of feature in the app before. And the thing about I love about AI development is smashing together so many different open source libraries. You can do, we're a web technology specialist, but I can now bring in like a 3D graphical overlay of a city and have a person kind of navigate through that in a web app. I can't do that in traditional low-code tools. So yeah, for our clients, it's more of a premium, more of an the expectations are jumped. So if we don't follow those expectations, we'll fall behind. But at the moment, we're keeping it. That's my
So
opinion.
Omar, when there's a kind of misalignment between they think it should take 2 to 3 days, but really it's 2 to 3 weeks, how do you communicate that to them?
Oh, it's an education piece. You see, they're seeing TikTok videos. They're going online. Oh, I've generated my app. And then obviously Apple had that recent deal with Google, and they're showing off like, what was it, interfaces where you can build in apps on your phone. So it's because of all that messaging. But when it comes to commercial apps, you've got to, they kind of understand the nuances. You've got big databases, lots of people, processes. So like Harry mentioned spot on, the architecture of an app is probably the value that we bring. And yeah, so we're okay. We're comfortable hopefully with our positions, and it's fun. Like the guy said, I'm really enjoying developing more than I did 2, 3, 4 years ago. I've got an ADHD brain, so I'm not like, oh, build this app, or I'll build this function. So we're moving away from Monday.com. So Monday.com, we've been on them for about 4 or 5 years. We're kind of auditing each of our suppliers to see if it's worth still paying them the money. And then only a week ago, I rebuilt it for our own system, and then we're going to distribute it to our team in December. And so I've lowered my costs from £600 a month to about $20 a month in terms of server costs. That's just happened the same across our ecosystem. So I'm loving every aspect of it without going on a tangent.
That's amazing. Rebuilding the whole CRM.
I think the same echo, like we build a control tower, we call it. So each of our department, whatever Excel file, I'm removing it, and everything will be on each control tower. Project management, even though we are keeping the project management and CRM, but I don't see 6 months from now that is going to be required. Honestly, the way things are right now, like because of Supabase and Lovable and Cursor and others, like, I love Codex also. And like, just like Omar, I've been coding like, since 2000, I probably have not done this that much of coding, like literally 14 hours a day. When I leave office, I run about 10 jobs. I prepare them and leave them there on Codex. And when I come back home, I check them. So it's like kind of this idea, like, we are those founders or agency owners are probably glued to this. And I'm sure client will get in when they will have more information, when we can show them potential.
Got it. Go ahead.
Just wants to add, this is a fundamental point. Now we're doing this now. We're rebuilding our systems using obviously AI tooling to replace our CRM systems, our marketing systems. So imagine our clients in a year's time. Bigger corporations, £5,000 a month subscriptions. I know some of our clients have got £100,000 subscriptions just with like data repositories with existing APIs. Every company I envisage is going to get rid of SaaS systems. SaaS subscription systems are going to go downhill, in my opinion. It doesn't mean there's value for them, but internally, everyone's going to start building internal silos. I mean, we had Cloud go down. I know it affected everybody, but in terms of you could have on-prem systems. You can host in the UK with these. I can host in Dubai. I can host anywhere I want. That freedom, and the same with like Cell or Railway hosting the apps there, gives all these companies absolute control. And I honestly I wouldn't want to be Salesforce. I wouldn't want to be Trello. I wouldn't want to be Monday.com right now. They're going to go down, in my opinion, in terms of subscriptions. And if they're not already, that's the only thing I need to add.
And Omar, are you seeing that trend translating into business for you of people wanting to?
So we deal with enterprises, and without kind of naming the ones on our website, a case study. So NZF is a large charity in London. They have 6 or 7 apps traditionally in Bubble, but they're using the AI ecosystem to save costs on their internal systems. We have another client who's a case study. They're a health and safety company that does inspections across the globe, various different laws, etc. They are replacing their manual creators, their proposal systems, their reports, for example. Simple things you'd have a word processor to do or mail merge, all of them going and building something custom that works for them because of the speed difference and it's specific to them. So I honestly think, a lot of big corporations will get wind of this. Look at their, subscription base. I know a lot of fund managers, they spend £500,000 a year on subscriptions sometimes. And so I honestly think that's going to affect everybody. Even in Wales, we've got this local government, you've got Welsh Assembly, you've got MP. They're starting to look in to see. I mean, we built a site for an MP recently in Lovable in an hour as a favor.
Yes. It is crazy where things are going.
I think working with us also, like if you think about the same discussion where agencies value and stickiness will. So we built a homegrown AI wrapper beginning 3 years ago because ChatGPT, Gemini, everything would cost me $90 per person. I have more than 150 employees. So when we build the AI wrapper, right now it's called Collab AI. I deploy it to 60 clients right now behind firewall. Our whole message is that you want to keep your data. Imagine that few years of your AI chatting data in your hosted server, and it costs you instead of $10,000, $600 API cost. So right now, all these wrapper and AKN server install, Supabase install, we can just go ahead and build Lovable prototype and quickly give it to them. AI wrapper will have all the agent there. So this is how I think agencies are evolving. In our case, we are extremely busy and we just moved away from MongoDB to Supabase because of the same reason. Imagine $20 Lovable account, just deploy their, this Collab AI, we are calling it, and everything is there.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. So I want to dive in a little bit deeper into the architecture. Harry, why use Supabase as your backend, and have you tried alternatives, and what What drives you back to Supabase?
I guess like a little bit different to these guys. I haven't been programming for the last couple of years. We've been using tools like Webflow and such. And then I think it was December 23, I stumbled across this tool called GPT Engineer that was open source. And that was the precursor to Lovable. And I went through probably the standard like user journey of an early stage startup. The product was changing every 5 minutes and the technology that was being suggested as well. I remember talking to Christian, who's like the head of that product and one of the original like founding members of the team. And he told me about this tool that they were going to start using called Supabase, which I had no idea what that was, but I was like, all right, that sounds cool. Cause he said I can add a table and I can create, update and delete stuff. And I was like, okay, sick. That's exactly what I need. Let's give it a go. And not gonna lie, like I started using Supabase. I was kind of a bit overwhelmed because I was like, wow, this is a really powerful tool and it does a lot. And it's obviously built on top of some great technology, which is Postgres as well. But it kind of extrapolated for me as somebody who was learning about these new tools and learning how to develop again. It took me through like this really nice process of understanding like how all of these things fit together. Now, Supabase is like the tool that we always suggest to all of our clients because it has everything out of the box that you need. You don't need anything else. So like authorization and having a login and sign up and user accounts, that's ready to go out of the box. S3 storage, so you can like upload user files, download them, etc. It comes out of the box. Like all of the security things that you would want to protect your application, it comes out of the box as well. So for me, it was like an all-round solution to everything. And then after using it for a while, I was impressed by not only the fact that it had all of those features, but it has even more. You know, Omar spoke about like being able to store embeddings and have like a PG vector database and like being able to do all the AI things that you want to do and not be blocked by it. Having real-time tables. So like when you update something, you see it reflected in the UI straight away. And like these sound like very small features, but all of them combined build like a really powerful experience and give you this framework, which allows you to develop fast. I think we've all spoken about like speeding up. Supabase is such a great fit for vibe coding because it gives you all of those basic components just to work off of, and you don't have to go and like reinvent the wheel or have to set up something complicated. It's just about creating a new project in Supabase, connecting with the API keys, and you're off to the races. So it makes the process really easy. And we all love speed in the service industry because our clients want speed at the end of the day. They want it in 2 to 3 days, as you said, Omar, but like, obviously that's not doable, but they still want it pretty quick, right? At the end of the day. And yeah, Supabase just enables that. We've looked at lots of other applications to use as a database. Like as you go, you always check out the latest tools and see what's available online and what you can use and stuff. But honestly, I think there isn't a tool that at the moment that offers such a comprehensive suite of tools to build with, honestly, like out of the gates. So yeah, I don't know. I'd be interested to hear what the guys have to say about that. But for me, it's been like a love from day one and a marriage that I can't get out of.
Yeah, it's amazing. Cannot think anything beside. As I said, my 60 plus clients who are on enterprise, I am forcing them to move to Supabase. Remember, these are the healthcare and mortgage industry, so they're super regulated. But I'm taking a bet that behind their firewall, we can install Supabase, which is open source. So even though we do develop most of it on cloud, and then make our production switch, and that is a struggle we have it right now. But I think what I agree with Harry there, that the reusability and open source also makes a huge deal, because right now if you go to other tools, like where can you find everything? Like, especially the vector VB and, like edge functions, like, which is, I love it, background jobs and, a lot of these things, and you got your management API is unbelievably good. I've been playing around with it. So imagine 3 months from now, our junior developer will go and have a business doc done, of course, because of agent. And they will say, okay, I want to build this application. It will go and find all the end functions, which we have built before. It will combine them together and just make the application using those edge. And that's where I'm seeing it in 3 months from now, that our development cost and time would be half of it if we can do it. And next day they will come in and they will see all these edge function error is automatically detected, and the AI can just fix it whether it is SDK, any of these SDK, and even regular, AI can fix it right now. Those dead functions is kind of, if you can study it, you would be able to go ahead and do it. So that's where we are really pushing. Right now is a transition time. It's not everything organized, but it's an amazing time we are having now.
Got it. Got it. And Omar, anything, I guess, different that you would add around Supabase providing value? And then also, I'd love to dig in maybe a little bit into how you might be using Supabase to help you lead into some recurring revenue, whether that's retainers or maintenance or optimizations over time.
Yeah, so we're a retainer-based business. Typically, a client comes to us, we do an MVP, and then we go into an agile development phase where we're just developing for them. Kind of, I think the original question is kind of why we picked Supabase. I know I touched on a bit about in the UK, but we're an enterprise, so we explored everybody. And, so we looked at AWS. We have systems on AWS. We've done Firebase, which it has real time, but no real SQL or very weak row level security in terms of implementation. So because I have to do procurement. So I have to give everyone a fair chance and say, okay, who is the best system for us? And the reason why we ended up finalizing this base for my team, we've got 12 developers, we're a bit UK based. It was the familiarity with actually Bubble compared to Supabase. So we can translate privacy rule to RLS. We can show the tables because it's saying the tables in Bubble. We can simulate the functions, the workflows in Bubble. So in terms of the learning curve from one platform to another, it was very similar for the team to pick up. And probably that and the cost to spin up, I'm paying $10 just to spin up something to play with. That's cheapest chips for me. And I can manage things. So yeah, kind of going back to kind of the original question, in terms of our premium, it's keeping that retainer value. And that's kind of the main reason why we tried all the different alternatives and the technical skills. So for me, the technical skills for my team, I can have a mid-level dev or even a junior dev explore Supabase. For AWS or for Firebase, it has to be a senior dev. So it's cheaper for me to be able to use Supabase. So yeah, just to kind of add there.
Got it. Cool. Yeah, there are a lot of additional benefits, and it's interesting how the benefits are a little different for each agency as well. I also want to highlight for everyone in the audience, remember, or just a reminder to add some questions. If you have any questions, feel free to add them in the questions tab in the chat. But I'm going to jump over to Harry, change gears a little bit now. So I'm curious, how are AI tools not only changing, the way that you're building for clients, but maybe also changing like how you're thinking about building your own team as you're, building and growing your agency?
Yeah, I guess like we're on like a pretty cool trajectory. There were 3 of us at the beginning of the year, and we're now a team of 17, working with some really big brands in the US, particularly as well, like UK military, and then financial venture capital firms in the Bay Area. And like one of the biggest things that I think comes up with this is, how do you take traditional software development practices that works really well, like testing, all of these things that cover all of the catch-22s when it comes to releasing to a project, and then like retrofit that into these new tools that are accelerating velocity, but a developer could run a couple of MCP commands and wipe your whole database. So it's like trying to catch ourselves before we hit those problems, and also understand like, what do we need to bring from the traditional development world that works and is needed, and how can we fit that to what we're doing in terms of process now? Because it's needless to say, it's like one of the biggest like objectives we have when we work with enterprise clients is like, is it secure? Because there's still this story around vibe coding and the fact that it's not enterprise ready, or like you can't build a production app. I was at Babson College on Saturday giving a talk, and had some students come up to me and they were like, "You're telling me you work for enterprise and you're vibe coding? Like, what do you mean? How are you doing that?" And it's the same. It's like using the tools to speed up, but still sticking to the practices that got us here over the last 20 years, and deploying stuff that is really secure. And I think like going back to like the other part of the question, which is like, how are we seeing the tools develop and where are they going? Back to my story, when I found GPT Engineer, which was the precursor to Lovable, it was $1.30 to run a prompt and it was like 5 or 10 or 15 prompts to be able to build a Pong game, the simple game where you got 2 sticks and you're bouncing a ball. I one-shotted that with a prompt with Gemini last night for a video, and it was one prompt and it built an amazing version. It wasn't black and white. It made neon Pong and it was colorful, and there was like really well-designed level, and the AI was really hard to beat. And it just showed me, like, in 2 to 3 years with a bit of training, like how far these code generation models are going. And like, I think we're all at this moment where we're waiting for a prompt to run and it's taking like 10, 20, 30 seconds to be able to execute, right? I think the next like year or 2 years, we're going to get to a point where you type a prompt and it's going to get it done so quickly that you then have to think about, okay, how am I going to get like 5, 10, 15 agents to do this? Because we can take even more advantage of that speed rather than not. And who knows? I think one of the things I saw at the beginning of the AI wave 2 years ago in the enterprise space is this idea that one day enterprise teams are going to be able to just type into a box a piece of software that they need to solve a problem for that day. They'll spin it up. It will just work out of the box. They won't need a development team or anything. And then once they've completed their mission or objective for the day, they'll spin that app down. And then the next day, they'll spin up another app to solve the next day's problem. And software is really going to become like democratized, especially applications for smaller businesses, where we saw that it was only enterprise that could afford to build these kind of things. But now you're seeing like mom and dad shops build like a native Android and iOS app in a weekend and be able to like make a lot of benefits and provide value for that business. So it's definitely going to change a lot of things, especially as agents replace more of our jobs. So I think we're in for a wild ride. I think this is really like an industry revolution in some sense. So, if you look at all the charts, programming is the number one sort of sector that's benefited the most from AI at the moment in terms of productivity gains.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, it is a crazy time right now with the way things are going. I want to jump in before we end. We have a question from the audience from Sam, and I'm going to give this to Shahed first. I'd love to hear how he's thinking about it. So when you're developing AI solutions for clients, how are you thinking about the ongoing revenue and relationship as an agency? Is that something you're thinking of more as ongoing dev work, support, or something else? Shahed, you're muted right now.
So since I started web development journey back in 1997, I have seen the trend. I know this is the biggest trend, but I'll tell you, like 6, 7 years ago, when the headless CMS came in, few of our clients, one of the Fortune 500 company, we worked with both UK and US brand, and they were like, oh, we don't need development anymore. We're just going to build, like one portal using headless CMS, and we were doing Drupal development. So what happened within 6 months, their all brand came out with an idea that each of these brand will have 10 websites. Like they used to have one website. It end up being a 45 website for 4 brand. Like it's a medicine brand. So if you are 15 to 35, you are going to have a one website. So what happened? Supply and demand. I have a feeling that those who are listening, if you're in the development industry, don't give up. I think you need to adopt that tool. I think people are going to build so many prototypes and they're going to face the problem. Right now, we are on that situation. I have clients from the enterprise level. They have their crazy idea and they come to us and now they're overwhelming us. December used to be our slowest month. This month, I do not have a resource to allocate people because they're demanding December because they've seen the product. They want to go live on January 1st. So I have a feeling in 2026, for those development agencies who are using this kind of Supabase, Lovable, and quickly adopting it and quickly can deliver, we will have enough work. Now, if you are still charging a website for 2,000 or 5,000 or 10,000, those days are gone. Anybody can go ahead and build a website. But complex application and every Excel file, every problem in the enterprise is millions of use cases. And I think you need to do a lot more work to make more money. Right now, people probably will create Lovable project with simple login and some of the data and stuff. But the complex work, we will have to use our brain. Right now, even I have personally built some of the applications. Honestly, even though I have a development background, I am stuck with 6 applications where I'm in 90%, that 10% is hard. I even spoke with developer and I messed up the whole thing. Right now, they have to redo half of the development.
Got it.
Going to be the case where the hope is that it's not going to be same as in let's say 10 years ago, but you probably need to run a lot more project to make similar amount of revenue.
Got it.
If you prefer, you have the job cut, right? Companies are going to expect you to deliver more using less resource. They're going to squeeze in and make more revenue.
Right, right. And Omar, I know you mentioned you are on a retainer model earlier. Yeah, how do you think about ongoing support, ongoing dev? Yeah.
Yeah, so our business model has changed. So, if you've heard about We Get Design, we're quite embedded with, the Welsh government. And what we find in is like extra services, architecturing the app correctly, startup business advice, research and development tax credits if you're based in the UK, validation of a product. So you're talking more of business, more of a qualitative aspect to our delivery. So the retainer stays the same. We're just delivering more. We're not going in like doing 10 or 20 projects at a time, but we're focusing on the quality of a single product for a client, for example. What are they trying to accomplish? We meet the milestone quicker. They might think, okay, we want another app to follow after that. We discuss it to them. Is it really needed? Is it going to solve your problem? Are you saving time? Like we'll do a cost analysis of our company, for example. Okay, we're currently spending, X amount on employees, X amount on subscriptions. Is there anything we can do to, improve that? And they'll come from that angle rather than where it was coming from a software, CRM kind of clickable buttons. We need a menu. We need a list of where our customers are. There's a lot more thought process in the development, thus maintaining the value of our retainer. And I think that's probably the difference. We don't want to do kind of quick, easy applications, shoot them out and try and get mass market. We really want to have the time, and this is what allows us to study our clients, understand all the nuances that they may not expect, and plan for it. And they might have a budget, and now we can better fit to budgets. Now there's less of overruns of budgets. And I honestly think AI development right now is very good at microservices, very good at siloed apps. If you're trying to build an all singing, all dancing app, you're gonna struggle right now. Maybe in a year's time that won't be the case. But if you want an app that does a particular process very well within your company, not like agentic process, but like learning, for example, our training app just focuses everything around learning, coaching. It's quite a complex app, but it's not bolted onto the CRM. It's a separate app. So yeah, in my opinion, just maintaining the qualitative approach to clients. That's not technology, ironically. It's not tech focused. It's probably 40% of our work is everything else. And that's what's changing for us.
Got it. Got it. And I think the last question we have time to dig into a little bit more, Harry, is Supabase helping you in terms of this ongoing relationship with clients? Are you finding Supabase fits into that for you?
Yeah, definitely. Omar spoke about it, but it's about this idea of building the infrastructure and hosting it for them. There's two models to it when it comes to retainers. It's one way you're like a partner that's going to be working with them for a year to 2 years. And the other is like they just need to be able to take it and do what they want and then go generate some revenue and maybe come back. So Supabase really enables that because it's really easy to be able to transfer projects to clients if you need to once you've set up and done everything, so they can just run off and pay the server bills. But also from an infrastructure standpoint, it's kind of fun to be able to host stuff for people, deploy it on, on-prem infrastructure. When we were working with the UK military, for example, it was really important that they could host Supabase on their own server, keep it within their own firewall, and then be able to go from there. Honestly, though, I think one of the things that's really exciting is that some of our more technical enterprise clients are actually getting into Supabase themselves and playing around with the tables and stuff. And that just speaks to how easy and friendly the user experience is. So they can go ahead and fiddle with some tables or export some data or import some data. And it's not like they need to know how to code to be able to do that or be able to go check out the storage and see some of the files or play with the auth settings. So I really like the idea that it's really accessible to non-technical people as well. And I tend to say to most of my students, if you can just learn the basics of Supabase, it will become such a powerful tool for you in the long run. as I said, it's been a long relationship with Supabase, and I am married to it. So I think it's going to be a longer relationship as well. And I guess like for any of you guys in the audience who are like thinking of trying it out or whatever, just like spend a weekend tinkering with it. And I think you'll see a lot of the power that comes from building with a tool like this.
Awesome. Yeah, I totally agree. I think we might have time for a couple more Q&A questions before we hop off. So one question, when delivering prototypes to clients, do you find it's more valuable to build them using tools like Figma Make, where you can connect to Supabase, or is it better to leverage more AI-driven builders like Lovable that kind of is more all in one, or is it more, do you do like really bare bones prototypes? What do you find works best, Omar, on your side?
Well, we evolved very quickly. We were with Figma, and we were learning Figma only 2 years ago, a year ago. All our designers were building on that. And I think Figma Make came out too late. Lovable seemed to have ground the work for the designers. They went in there, they started playing with the tools. Then Figma Make came out. I was like, everyone's like, oh, nah, we kind of don't need it anymore. And that's changing. So we're finding our designers are using really simple, Bolt, Lovable, just to kind of draw up the framework or wireframe for the UI that's clickable, allows the clients to go into it and mess around as much as possible. But yeah, I think the tool in itself, we use our own IDE. So we basically put in all the APIs that are available. Gemini came out. I even tried the Chinese ones. Kimi K2 was really good about a week ago. If anyone's kind of exploring those tools. But kind of like to follow on from Shahed, I think that my suggestion would be get a weekend, connect, go to Google Studio, Cloud Studio, text based, or go to a tool that allow you to do that. And you'll see how easy it is to connect, or connect the MCP to Supabase. I love that tool. I'm not having to do anything in Supabase directly. I just use MCP directly. But going back to point, I think tools like Figma Make, I know Canva are getting into kind of designs. I know additional, we have something called Bazaar. I think all those will disappear completely, and they'll evolve into app makers, which is kind of what happened.
Yeah. Just quickly wrapping it up, I think Lovable, the biggest point here is that your past knowledge and what you learn, what works. So we actually have an agent called Lovable agent. So when a client meeting, we pass it and create a document. That agent makes a good Lovable prompt based on our past experience. So a lot of these things, we are already pre-building it. And 21st Dev, I think that's the website where you can get better design. You can get all those plugins like WordPress type plugin. So I don't know why we need Figma anymore, but in some cases, client come back with Figma, but we convert it to Supabase. But I think it's a street like we will decide in 6 months from now where people are going to use it or not. But I think the agentic framework and memory layer is something which is those who are listening. If you want to make revenue out of this or what to learn, I would learn memory layer in a DB, learn how companies' data can be saved in such a way that we can easily pull out and make better agent. Ultimately, we're going to sell agent, not website and software development.
Got it. Makes sense. Unfortunately, we're all out of time. I think we could keep talking for hours about this topic. There's so much that we could get into, but thank you so much, Omar, Shahed, and Harry for coming on and sharing all your insights with everyone who's watching. Thank you so much for joining and for your questions in the Q&A. And definitely check out Supabase. And if you have any questions, reach out to the Supabase team. I'm sure they'd be happy to help. So thank you everyone for joining. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you guys. Bye. Bye.
Thank you so much for watching. As a reminder, Supabase is giving agencies $300 in credits to try out Supabase. Click the link in the description to claim that promo. This is a limited time promotion for agencies only. So if you're an agency, you definitely want to take advantage of this offer before it goes away. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something, and we'll see you in the next video.